Hello, on YouTube, checking the connection. Hello. Hello. Oh my goodness. This Instagram has become a bane of my existence.
I don't
Or
even
this
stress it. I don't care about it. We could just use it for marketing at this point. Like for those of
Hi.
y'all that don't know, we are simulcasting live on YouTube and on StreamYard. We're going to be pushing a couple of other streams, starting with the launch of season 3 coming up in a couple of weeks. But those of y'all that are really just heart emoji, Instagram, uh, I guess I can understand, but from a technical standpoint, from a standpoint of trying to go live and produce
Basically,
content,
Instagram has become a pain in our ass.
it's
So
trash.
that's really what we're
So
trying to figure out. So, Instagram, we appreciate you and everything that you do, but it's become a real thorn in our
I mean,
bum. Anyhow, we're
this is
going to have a good
bothering me.
show regardless of what happens with Robert standing up and
It is what
everything
it is.
indeed.
Still,
I'm still out of frame, but I guess I'll
joint
come
wouldn't
in.
go live.
So there we go. We are going to
Yeah.
be doing probably the softest show that we've done. Clearly, we're a little bit frazzled. We had a bit of an argument before the show because Rob wanted to put on an outfit that I was not going to do the show with him if he put on that
You can scoot
outfit.
over
And then
a little
Instagram
bit.
wasn't working. And then here we are. But we are always going to do a show because no matter what goes on in our life, we are committed to being here every Thursday to do this. And we will smile and make it work. And believe it or not, this week we actually wrote love letters to love, not to each other. But if did you do your assignment? Did you write the letter?
Yeah, I did that, but I ain't gonna cap. If I'm irritated, I'm gonna be irritated on the show until I work it through. You know what I mean? Like you were the same way. I don't know what you mean. You're gonna smile and everything's gonna be all nice and good. Like that's not accurate. Usually we get our face right by showtime and stuff like that, and I wouldn't call it really an argument. You said what you said. I ain't say nothing back. How's that argument?
All right.
All right.
So you can talk now.
Oh, okay. Well, happy Thursday, everybody. What's going on tonight? Again, we've had technical issues. We've had all kind of stuff going on. It's just not been a smooth first couple of shows with the new setup. But we will get the kinks worked out. That's why we made the transition a little early. We've got, I think, how many? 2 more episodes?
Yes, two more
Two more
until.
episodes until we do a launch of season 3 of Fuck Your Feelings. And in the meantime, we are gonna continue, like she said, doing this every Thursday night, getting better at it, upgrading it, leveling up, however you want to look at it. And we do this for ourselves and we do this for y'all. I kind of touch on that a little bit in my letter. Um,
Oh wow! So you wrote like okay, I just wrote like a little letter.
no, I
It
mean
was
it
like a
ain't.
love letter to love, right? Because
Yeah,
I gave him an assignment. I
yeah.
didn't really said. I just said we were writing love letters to love. So it wasn't to each other. It was like a love letter to love. Like I wrote
Facts.
it directly to like love.
Yeah, I ain't write it to you either. That's what was not the assignment.
Exactly. So I'm just
So
making it
I kept
clear.
the assignment, but I didn't write a. It's not
I
five
wouldn't I
pages.
wouldn't expect a love letter to me. I think that would
Yeah,
be
it was
too
a
much out of your character to
terribly
actually
busy day today. Oh yeah, that
write
that
me an
I
actual
hope
love
my
letter.
my letter to love probably be irritated with the letter I write. So
No,
and it's
how can
not
I be
bad.
irritated
No, I'm
about the
not
letter
saying
you write
you.
to
I
love?
said love.
Oh, love is gonna be
Cupid, whoever
irritated.
Cupid might be pissed off like this nigga here.
No, but here's the thing: love is a complicated thing,
Very.
right? And we have a complicated relationship to love, whether it is parental love, child love, romantic love, whatever kind of love. I think
Yeah.
love is
Facts.
such a complicated thing. And the reason I really wanted to do this show called Dear Love was really because we have a commitment to stay together. And love, even though it is part of our relationship, it's not the driving force. Our commitment to stay together, I think, is even a bigger driving force than love is. And I think I wanted to kind of have it because we don't know what each other wrote. I wanted to see how your relationship with love was and my relationship with love.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think I was really honest in my because I've been thinking about it before I actually put a pen in any paper, and just not just where I'm at now,
Hmm.
but my entire life, my opinions about love and the relationship that I've had towards love. As you stated, love is a really complicated thing. There's many different forms of love, and yeah, so I really gave some
Well, I appreciate that you
thought
actually gave
into
it some really
assignment.
like
Yeah,
some
for
big
sure.
thought because I know you're busy and
Yeah,
you got a lot of stuff to do.
definitely.
But again, I think if we're going to talk about changing the conversation around Black relationships, I think clearly one of the things that we really need to delve into is the relationship that people have with love. I think when people go into relationships with love, I don't know if that's ever a question. I don't know. I know that's a question we've never asked each other
What?
of what's your relationship with love,
Oh yeah, now we know this is kind of new. It's kind
right?
of uncharted stuff, which is
Exactly.
rare because it's just something that never really. It's an interesting topic. I don't think many people have
Which is
had that
why
conversation.
which is why I thought it would be interesting if we did it because again,
Yeah,
our whole point of this show, why we started it and why we will continue to do it is because we wanted those conversations to be changed,
yeah.
especially in Black relationships because that's who we are.
Facts.
And I
Facts.
think often so many things are overlooked. We have so many struggles, we have so many things that happen that part of us, it's like when you find somebody that you mesh with, I think there's that kind of
For sure.
right, that's there's that release, and sometimes we don't want to say anything or do anything to mess that up because you can, we've lived in our bubble, right? And
Yeah,
you like, oh god, I don't know what just happened.
it was quick.
I don't know what happened. I hope we're still alive. Oh, sorry guys. I need to move things around
You.
because but yeah, I think when you get into these relationships, especially at this point in our lives, when you're a little bit older and you've had some experience and you've gone through some things, you get so enamored with the idea that you found someone. I think some of those conversations that need to happen don't happen. And there's so many conversations that can happen, right? Like when you're dating
Like
someone,
you
like
said, we talk about mad stuff, and we've never talked about like how do you feel about love? Like that's never really been a question, and
even
it's
at,
an
go ahead.
interesting one though.
Yeah.
Like you said, but facts with that, this just came up this week.
Yeah. I was watching something from a couple from a show that I watched and it was something they said and it just sparked me and I was like, "Dear love, let's talk about love." Like because again, you'll hear my letter to love and it wasn't very long. I was like, "Do I write this long letter?" And I'm like, "I write books for that." Like if I need nothing long, I'll write a book. But as I sat down, I was just like, this is interesting and it brought me back to even being pregnant with Treyanne. One of the songs her father would sing to her was Love by Music, right? Like that's how she actually remembered his voice
Hmm.
when because he would always sing that song to my belly. And if you don't know, it's off of Musiq Soulchild's first album, I Just Want to Sing. And it's basically a song about the word love. And he basically says, "There's so many things I got to tell you, but I'm afraid I don't know how." Anyways, I won't sing. But that song just kept playing over and over my head because I thought, remember when I first heard that song like 20 years ago, I thought, what an interesting song because it's something that we don't talk about. So I don't know if you want to go first or you want me to go first, but
I'll let you choose.
um, you'll go first.
Oh, sure.
So presenting
All right, my letter
Rob's
to love.
letter to
Um,
love.
all right, here, dear love. I'm going to start being by being completely honest. I never liked myself when I was in love. I always looked at love as if it made me do things I know better than because of that love. I used to think that when you love a person, you throw out the rules and the boundaries that you have in place for yourself. And I questioned, why did I think that? Because you love them, of course, you know? Um, I lost my spot. I now know better. When you love a person, you enforce those boundaries and rules like Matumbo patrolling the paint. When you truly understand love, there is security in that. You understand love is conditional, and there is nothing wrong with holding your partner accountable to those standards. You also make it a mission to hold up to the boundaries that the other person set for you. You truly value your team. So doing things to jeopardize the team doesn't seem smart. That's why I'm really thankful for Toshiba. She is exactly what I needed. She understands our dynamics. She understands that we must be committed to the commitment. We are both far from perfect and definitely not relationship goals. That's why we are here on Thursdays. Not because we think we're special or we think we're unique or something like that, but we feel like if we can make us work, then anybody can make their shit work. It's just whether it's a priority or not.
I wasn't expecting. Oh,
That
babe.
was better. It was, I don't pull punches really, but that's facts. Like, and I'm gonna just chime in, especially as a younger man, because, I kind of, you grew up in that world, like, because I learned a lot of stuff from dudes, but I didn't learn how to love a woman. You know what I mean? That's not training I ever went through. I honestly think the dudes and the kind of, the kennel I came out of, that was some shit we ain't even talk about. It's like, I don't love them hoes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but for real, but a man can't go through his entire life without that. As you mature, you realize how crazy that sounds, being a 20-something-year-old just on a mission to like slaughterize the, you know what I mean, the female population. And that's trauma in itself, to be honest.
So let me ask you a question. Do you need to learn how to love a woman, or do you need to learn how to love yourself?
I think they're one and the same almost, because you can't as a man, you cannot love a woman unless you truly love
So
yourself.
that's what I was thinking to myself, right? Like, is it that men haven't been taught to love themselves, and therefore it's almost like when they fall in love with a woman, it's a crash course on love because they're trying to navigate it
because
while they're in it.
You're totally forgetting about yourself too.
Yeah.
So again, I might not have the best words for it, but if you don't know how to love yourself, you cannot train your woman to love you.
You're gonna piss a lot of women off with that one. Train. But I get what you're saying, because I'm the same way. I think it's one of those things where when we go into any relationship, you have to set a standard and you have to set boundaries and you have to be able to say, hey, this is acceptable and this is not. But it comes down to that point. Remember, the question I started asking you was, how can I love you better?
Mm-hmm.
Because
and that's a great question. You're honestly the first woman to ever ask me that.
Even though I feel like I'm loving you in a way that you receive, it doesn't mean that's the way that you want to be loved. Right. And I think it's such a complicated thing. So first of all, thank you for that letter. And I expected nothing but rawness from you. And so I appreciate that. But I think we've got complicated relationships with our parents. We've got complicated relationship with our siblings. We got complicated relationships with ourselves. There's so much complication. And so then you try to love another person outside of your familial, right? And you're kind of doing a crash course. That's kind of how I felt about love. I mean, I guess I'll read my letter shortly, but Cass is saying, yes, commit to the commitment. I haven't heard many other people but myself use it. And that was key for us. And I think it was one day we were having a conversation and it came up. It's like, we're not just committed to staying together. We're committed to the commitment that we've made to each other. That was a big
concept that we developed early in the relationship. Like, anybody can get together and say, I want to be with you. And then in a year you look up and you're like, I don't like you as much as I did a year ago. Fortunately, we haven't went through that type of stuff. Like, I think our admiration of each other has maintained relatively stable. You
Well,
know
my
what I'm
obsession for
saying?
you
And
is
again, that's a good thing. As long as you're obsessed with me, I love that, and we're Gucci. But before anybody, folks, start coming for me too, I did want to touch on, like you said, people may have a problem with that word train. The very first definition as a verb of the word train is to teach a person or animal a particular skill or type of behavior through practice and instruction over a period of time.
but that's
What's wrong with that?
there is nothing wrong with that. But but I think again the
Told you he beat her.
shut up. The concept of what love is for people is just this thing that's supposed to be. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
a
man.
be. You're
Why are we
supposed
listening
to
to
be
20 year
in
olds?
love.
Like,
You're
oh,
supposed to, it's just a way of being. You're supposed to just know, and you don't. Because if you
ooh.
haven't been taught, if you've got, like, I have a very complicated relationship with my mother, as you know. But I have a real love for my father. And even though I should have a complicated relationship with my father, I don't. My father, for me, was the first essence of love in my life. And he loved me so much in my mind that he did something that most women think is terrible by taking me from my mother and putting me a place where I could receive more love than she herself could just give. And I'll read my letter to love, but I felt like I was drowned in love, but I still didn't know how to navigate love.
Man, it's a lot that I could touch on with that, because that's a whole lot of facts, and that'll almost get us into a whole different
Well, let me read my letter to
conversation.
love.
So yeah, do
And
that.
thank you for those joining us. Rob
Yeah,
just
appreciate it, folks. Just
read his
jumping
letter
in.
to love, and I am going to read
Y'all have to
mine.
catch that on the clip.
Okay, so I say, dear love, what a crazy roller coaster ride we've been on. Though I've always felt you, I haven't always given you freely. The first time I truly gave in to you was the day I had my precious child. Looked into her eyes, and my heart smiled. I knew from that moment you needed to be a constant presence in my life. I grew up surrounded by you. I had a family that poured so much of you into me, it often felt like I was drowning. My daddy showed me how another man should give you to me, so much so I was afraid that none would measure up. I've been afraid of you. I've prayed for you. I've longed for you. I've turned my back on you. I've seen the magic in you. I fell for you. I grew into you. I spoke to the universe about you and hoped in my heart she was taking notes. There were times you came to me and I wasn't ready to receive you, and for that I'm sorry. Then one day you showed up and I couldn't ignore you. You forced me to sit my ass down and see you in a way that I had never done before. When you appeared in your truest form, I realized what it meant when Dre said, "You are the perfect verse over a tight beat." I embraced you. I became obsessed with you. I fell for you, like tripped and fell for you. I learned how to navigate my feelings for you. You changed my life. For better or worse, I plan to choose you first.
Very
That
good.
was my letter
This
to
was a bit
love.
more poetic than mine,
Well, I'm the
as
author.
expected. You know.
When I sat and I wrote that, I had to be raw. I had to, again, I could have wrote a novel. Realize I've written several of them, but I was
Yeah, you
like,
got one coming
what
soon.
is it about love that I needed to have a conversation with? And there was so much. So those phrases of like, I've longed for you, I turned my back on you. I did a lot of that. And if I think about it, it stems from some of the shit with family, right? And
Oh
it
yeah, that's
stems
where all of
from
the trauma with love comes from. Is
exactly. And
family.
so meeting you, this is where when I said I tripped and fell for you, I became obsessed with you because it was you. Like you came in the truest form of love I had ever known. And I remember after I had Treyanne, I thought to myself, if I love someone even a fraction of how much I love this little girl, they would be loved. And I was right when it's, my father, as flawed as he is as a man, He's a great daddy. And he paved the way for me in terms of this is how a man treats a woman, this is how you're supposed to be loved. And I always said, no one would measure up. My dad would love you. Unfortunately, he doesn't get a chance to know you. I hope we go there and in his conscious mind somewhere he can hear us. But you would measure up to the image of love that my daddy would have for the type of men that I would spend the rest of my life with. And but it wasn't romantic. It's true and it's raw and it's complicated and it's all of these different things.
Look, man, if just the emotion of love powers the engine of your relationship, that shit is going on the way up the hill. Done. Because love ain't enough to carry you through bad days, bad times, hard times. It is the rock. It's like the glue that holds all the other shit in place.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like the mortar, however you want to look at it. But if that's like, because again, a more naive version of me used to think love is enough. If I love you and you love me, we can be in the back of the Circle K sleeping and we good because we gonna come up. And I think no, because if you really was loving like that, how the fuck y'all wind up in the back of the Circle K?
And I think I was the opposite of that. For me, it was like, I don't want no parts of that type of love.
Yeah, that struggle shit, man, I'm good.
No, it was just, I saw love as almost like an Achilles heel, like it's a weak spot.
I feel you. Yeah, because again,
it puts you in a position where you're not able to focus on the shit that needs to be done because you're so in love, right? Like I would see my friends, then they were in love, and then the relationship would break up, and they were like a puddle on the ground crying, and I'm like, this is some bullshit. Like we got things to do, you know what I'm saying?
Or you know what I'm saying? Like again, the emotion of love, because again, and honestly, like this is secret. Men can fall like that's love at first sight. Honestly, comes from men because we're visual creatures. So sometimes a guy can get so infatuated with a female's appearance, he almost puts her in this like angelic type of state, and he's literally like in love with her off the rip. And that's a horrible place to be because now you hate onions and she show up with a whole bowl of onion rings and eat them right next to you, and you just like, but I love her, so it's okay. And no, it's not, because yes, now because that emotion is pumping strong. Let her keep doing that shit every day for 5 years.
Can you remove the emotion from love and look at it from a logical standpoint?
Nope.
Continue.
It's a purely chemical, mental emotion. Love and logic do not live in the same place.
Why?
Because they're counterintuitive. You know what I'm saying? Logic would always dictate, do what's best for me. You know what I'm saying?
Love tells you to do what's best for the other person.
Love predicates you do what's best for other people. They don't live in the same place. But we need both of them. It's kind of like the yin and the yang, the male and the female. You know what I'm saying? Where would humans be if you had to go out and kill the food and grab the berries and all of that stuff, and I stayed home with the kids in the cave?
It'd be very different. You're not built for that. You're not.
Neither one of us are. The kids would be jacked up like they are today, and most of y'all wouldn't come home because some saber-toothed tiger done ate your ass or something like that, because that's not what you do.
And your point when it comes to love.
But when you flip-flop it and you are in your place, and I know, again, people hate gender roles. We happen to love them around here because,
Twinzing is making a point. Women equal love, men equal logic.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. It's like the yin and the yang. But, it is so honestly jacked up that in spite of the fact that only one of us can carry a baby and have it, there's people that really feel like that's the only difference between us.
No, there's
tons of and I'm like, are we crazy?
That's
how bad the educational system is.
I'm gonna harp on Twins' point for a moment.
It's facts.
And I will probably stress that is probably why I had the complicated relationship with love that I had. Because
you like to try to make sense of it and use logic.
No, because fundamentally, the woman who was supposed to love me the most didn't.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? Like she didn't. My daddy loves me. My daddy loves me to the ends of the earth. But that's, I get that as a daddy's girl. But if we go back to men equal logic, it it wasn't my daddy's role, let's say. It was, he was supposed to be daddy. He wasn't supposed to be daddy and navigating it. And my stepmom was great, but when she left to go to the US, and my grandmother kind of stepped in, but my mother, the woman who birthed me, the woman who gave birth, you know what I'm saying, did all of that. I don't even remember my mom saying she loved me until I was in my 30s. I'm 42.
That's tough. That's a difficult. I mean, and again, not to you can make it justifications and
No,
excuses
and
and stuff.
I'm
No, I'm
here.
not saying you do, but I mean, like at the end of the day, man, you feel how you feel
But
about the
I'm not.
relationship.
Funny things, I'm not angry at her.
No,
It's
no, no,
it's
no, no, no. I feel that.
I've
Like
never.
when you
I'm not
just
angry
release
at
it
her.
on,
I am. But it's, sitting back, and as I wrote the letter, and as I've gone through therapy, and as I've embraced the love I have for you, and I've seen the love I have for Traianne, and how not receiving that from the woman who gave birth to me, and probably drowning Traianne in it. Um, it was just interesting, and that really triggered for me because, again, the foundation of what love was supposed to look like for me was supposed to be set the stage by my mom,
and I
and it wasn't.
and I'm not, but and I'm okay. And this is something that I experienced personally also with love is love is very different looking at it from a child's perspective and looking at it from an adult's perspective. I used to wonder about a lot of the dynamics of my upbringing and the
Mm-hmm.
conditions I came up under, and I didn't understand them. As I got to be older and a man and have a kids and baby mamas and all that shit of my own, it really started to hit home in a different way of, I've done enough jacked up parenting that I've been able to release my parents from whatever. And also on the fact is like, it's just facts, man. Like once you hit that bridge of like 21-ish or so, like again, we in our 40s now. So I've been making my own decisions for myself way longer than my parents were ever responsible for me. So
Mm-hmm.
how can it still keep coming back to somebody else? Like,
No, and
no, again, those are formative traumas and they're real,
no,
but you
heal.
should power through those
No,
over a course of
absolutely.
time.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I never, and thank you, Princess Shelley Love. Absolutely, lot. I definitely forgive my mom. I don't hold
Oh yeah,
any
I wasn't saying you don't.
trauma for my
It is what it
mom,
is.
but it is what it is. But I think at the end of the day, when you start looking at what the foundation that's been set, right? Like we get set a foundation very early in our lives. And a lot of the decisions that we make, unbeknownst to us, have been set. The stage was set way before we even had the cognitive ability to understand what it was.
Do you know I have another saying about your parents? Because again, that's where all of the love stuff comes from. Either you really want to be like your parents or you really don't. It's one or the other, 9 times out of 10.
Here was the thing. I wanted a man like my father, but I
And
never
you
wanted
did
to
not want to be
be
like
like my
your mom.
mother.
Exactly. I'm not saying that they're both
Yeah.
the same. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you either want to be like them or you don't. You know what I mean? And it tends to color how you make some decisions moving into your own adult life. You know what I'm saying? Like again, that's your relationship with your mother is the reason why you're such a good mother. Does that make sense?
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Because you took that pattern that you recognized that made you feel a certain kind of way, and you almost do the converse. So you went all in the Trey in. You know what I mean?
Why I was fortunate is because my foundation was still set with love.
Right.
Because like until my bubble was burst that my mother wasn't my mother, I had all of this love. Like you know how close I am with my sister, right? Like
Yeah.
I had all of these women around me that loved me, and I was shown how to truly love. And so it was very complicated, again, the relationship with the love for my mother, because I'm like, I've seen this and this isn't it, but we're gonna figure it out and whatever it is. So I think we're talking about this because, again, when you're going into love and romantic love and wanting to stay together, what is the person's relationship with love? I want to read some of those.
For sure. Twinsing, everyone has emotion. As a parent, you have to put your kids first. No one should have to wait until their 30s for love to be
That's
given,
right.
for love to be given. And I agree with that. I think that, yo, man, it's
But again, my mother had a complicated relationship with love and what that looked like. So here's the thing: for some, love is this is what got me. For some, love is an emotion. For others, it's an action. It's a verb. It's a do. I do for you, so I love you.
Nah,
I put a roof
that's
over
not
your
me.
head, so I love you. I put food on your plate, so I love you. I put clothes on my back,
masculine, you know,
so I love
right?
you.
And yeah, so she almost.
No,
But I
but for
mean,
a
she
lot,
probably just
I'm
carried
not
over the
saying that
patterns
that's
that
my
she
mother,
learned.
but
You
I'm
know what I mean?
saying, we think about love as a pure emotion, but there are many people who think about love as an action.
Yeah,
I
it's
am
not even an
doing this,
emotive
and
thing.
I wouldn't do it for people, for someone that I don't
Yeah, I
love.
wouldn't even. Some people I wouldn't even talk to people I don't love.
So, like, how do you not understand that I'm showing you love? And this is why I'm saying, like, having that conversation with your significant other about what is your relationship with love.
That's a good one. That will probably be an illuminating experience for both of you as you're trying to get to know each other. And I think if that's something, if you've never been asked that, that's actually a very, you might not even thought about that. Like occasionally, like I say to her, I was like, I honestly, until you asked me that question, I never even thought about that shit. And that's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing because we often don't think about it. We
Right.
often
We
don't
often don't think about a lot of things.
to say
And
to
that's why it helps.
someone, what is your relationship with love? Most people don't ask the question I ask, how can I love you better?
Like I said, you're the first woman and the only that's ever asked me that question. You know, and I've had a lot of women say they love me, like facts, a lot.
I'm sure you have to. I'm sure you have, ho. I'm sure a lot of women told you, ho, that they love you. So no, but again, it's getting in touch with the idea that love, you can build love.
Absolutely.
You can create
Arranged
love.
marriages.
You can do all of that because again, that's why I'm saying it's not just a feeling.
No.
It's not just pure and raw emotion. And if we keep it as pure and raw emotion, that's why you fall in and out of it.
And that's like passion is an abundance of that emotion, right?
Yes.
And again, a lot of people fall in love with passion. They like being in passion. They like being in lust. And
Yeah.
that's why you see that that's how you have 12 boyfriends in 15 years.
Because you fall in and
Or
out.
girlfriends.
But that's
again,
the
it's
thing.
It's a different situation
That's why,
for a woman versus a man.
well, that's why in my letter I also wrote, I grew into you.
Yeah.
It wasn't just fall for you.
No.
You have to also grow into the idea of love.
It's not something that unless y'all are like high school sweethearts and y'all come to that, like, we're going to figure this out. It's hard to get it right the first time.
Like love?
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
Because if you can't miss something you've never had. And you can't appreciate something you've never had until the moment that you got it. You know what I mean? I just think that's just kind of how life moves a little bit. I think there's a philosophy along the lines of life is a very difficult teacher because you get the test, then you get the answers.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and not many people can pass the test without having ever been taught any of the material.
What if you were surrounded by love? Can you recreate love that you were surrounded by? If you've seen your parents and grandparents.
I think that is a tremendous anchor because it's not necessarily that you can apply it to yourself, but by having seen it, to truly have seen it, to have come up in it, you understand that it's not all good.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's one benefit of kids that get to grow up with a mom and a dad is you get to see that the good relationships doesn't mean they don't argue. It doesn't mean that they ain't stank at each other every once in a while. You know what I'm saying? What it does mean is they always find their way back to each other and manage to get back to good times. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that a child can see growing up. So automatically they have a different type of expectation of a relationship. You know what I'm saying? I think, okay, look at the 90s and 2000s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember the romantic comedy, the rom-com?
Yeah.
Do you
The
see a lot
Love
of them anymore?
Joneses, the Brown
Do you see a lot of
Sugars,
movies like
Jason
that? Do
Lyric.
you see a lot of movies like that
No.
anymore?
I'm sure Lifetime or
Because it
something.
ain't even that kind of society no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't nobody, no. Everybody love a bag. That's what 2022 is. I love chase a bag, chase a bag, chase a bag, chase a bag. And that's cool. Like, again, I really enjoy money, as do you. But we wouldn't have found our way to each other if that was the only
If
fucking
that
thing
was
we
the
was
only
focused on.
factor in the relationship. Well, Twins Inc. says once you see it, you know what it looks like.
Right.
And I think you also know what it doesn't look like. And
Yeah,
you know
once
what
you've had certain experiences, you know that's not. And again, like certain things you should never even have to go through. Like I said, I've never eaten feces, but I'm pretty sure I won't
Robert.
like it. I'm pretty sure I won't like
dinner
it.
time in
Right,
certain
you know what
places
I'm
like
saying?
New
But
Mexico.
there's certain things I don't think you got to go through to know that ain't for you. But on there's other parts of life where again I remember thinking like I wanted like a partner, like again like I said, oh, I make 80K, she make 80K, we making 160K together, we doing it. Until I understood the dynamics of men and women and money and finances and relationships and how a house run and all that other shit, and then I'm like, oh hell no,
I want no part of
I'll rather take care of all of the bills, much rather. Because then you are free to go and come and or go or stay as you please.
Does that
And there's security in that.
should love provide security? Or does love provide security? Does knowing you love me provide me more security?
Love should get a benefit of a doubt. How about that?
Elaborate.
Love should get a benefit of a doubt.
So if information comes to me that's contrary to what I know of you,
I stepped over a boundary.
Okay.
Love should give you a benefit of the doubt. Okay. Let me know the situation around how you stepped out of bounds.
Correct.
Because under the right circumstances, I might be able to understand how you stepped out of bounds and be like, okay, you know what? Let's just charge it to the game. Let's make some adjustments and try not to allow that to happen again. Like that's the best way I can say, you stepped out of bounds, got it back on track, got back in alignment. You know what I mean? That's the benefit of the doubt. Now, this newer age though is step out of bounds, instant, straight to punishment, penalty, termination.
But that's not love. That's tolerance.
Well, you come back to another point I'd like to make about love. I don't think you can say you love someone and then say, I don't love them anymore. And because it's like you didn't truly love them. There's a part, I'm not saying you move in that space or it drives your decisions, but I don't see how you can be like, oh, I love this person. And then a week, a year or later, you're like, I hope they die. That seems really like something is off about that.
Because that wasn't love, that was tolerance.
Right, that was, yeah, exactly. That wasn't love. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't
This is
really
why I'm
love.
saying when you have that conversation about what does love look like, what is your relationship with love, I'm going to suggest to everybody
That's a good
listening,
conversation.
if you are single, I would love for you to ask the next person you're dating that question. And if you're in a relationship, I think you should try the exercise that we just did, is to have your partner write a letter to love and see what happens. Twins is saying, I can love someone but not be in love with someone. Absolutely. But I think it's that I'm so like, I don't see myself being everything I am with Rob and something happened to us and I'm just like, I absolutely hate you. I may decide that I don't want to have to deal with you because dealing with you would be too painful if we're not together. But I don't see myself going on my social media and having a whole rant about how you're a piece of crap and like, that's just not, that ain't it.
Or y'all stayed together too long and y'all did too much. Like, that's what I'm saying. To Twins Inc.'s point, there's in love, and I think that's kind of where you want to be in a relationship, is where you feel like you're in love with that person.
But that's scary.
It's an active,
that's the
ongoing
scary, but thing. That is
but again,
scary.
Right. Most people can't get to that point because you can do some shit and love is conditional. People want to be on that bullshit like it isn't, because again, you can be in that space and then the person or even yourself does some shit and then knocks you out of that space to where I still love you, but I'm not in love with you like that. Like the armor is fucked up, basically. You know what I'm
So
saying?
how do
Like
we stay together if
not
love is
do that type.
conditional?
Not you cannot intentionally violate those boundaries. Like I said, you can accidentally step out of bounds, and that's the thing. You can't plan an accident. It's not
Well,
an
yeah, it's not an
accident.
accident.
You know what I'm
If you
saying?
do
And
something and go oops,
that's
and I'm
why the
like, you thought about
context
that,
of the
buddy.
story matters. You know, it wasn't accidentally. You know, it wasn't even like that was like premeditated and on the low what you did. You know what I'm
But
saying?
is
So
setting
like,
up boundaries in a relationship necessary to maintain love? Because
right.
there are people, again, if you're in the romantic concept of the love, you're like, I'm just so in love. Why do we need rules? Because love is just something
No,
that
man,
we
that's
are being.
stupid. It don't make no sense. Because then on the flip of that, you know what I'm saying? You can also you can establish, you know, that like I said in my letter, if I'm in the place of love, I'm going to hold you to a particular standard and not deviate from that. And you are going to give me your boundaries and your list of do's and don'ts and all of that. And if I really care about the relationship that we have, that's not something that I'm going to be all that excited about doing, is putting the state of our relationship in jeopardy. I think maybe that's very pragmatic way of looking at it, but I'm like, that willy-nilly fly by to the seat of your pants, oh, I just love him. As a person asks you why, and it's just because she's so great, like.
But I think we do need to be pragmatic about love if we're going to stay together.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't make no sense not to be that way.
I think this is why we say we're not just committed to loving each other, we're committed to the commitment
that it takes
to stay together. And now we're not going to ignore if there becomes red flags in our
or
relationship.
just beyond. But I think again, there should be a threshold of like, again, if you're committed to the commitment, it's gonna take something that you just can't get over. You feel what I'm saying? And outside of that, y'all gonna get through it.
For those who are just coming in, I think we should reread our letters to love. You don't want to reread your letter to love? New people are coming in.
I mean, how many people in here?
It goes in and out. You don't want fine.
Well, if more people join in. Like they say on other podcasts, get them likes up. And
he doesn't want to reread his letter to love. But I think what's so interesting is you have to be pragmatic in a relationship in order to stay together. If you're just being, like, I don't think love is just a state of being.
Nah, hell no. Because you'll be left right there.
What do you say that?
Because that's like a stagnant spot to be in. Like love would just have you laid up in bed all day.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's some people's idea of, and that's their relationship. And that's their thought
so
of
love. As soon
as
they can't do that no more.
It's like, oh my God.
Chaos, yeah.
When they're in the bubble of love, but when they have to deal with the real life that comes at them, that shouldn't change your commitment to love. Like even if you're committed to love.
We had a conversation in the last week or so. Every relationship starts in a bubble. Good relationships, when that bubble pops, they continue to go on. Other relationships cannot survive outside of those bubbles. And what's crazy is some people create kids in those bubbles. They continue to try even after the bubble pops to get back to that space of being in the bubble, and it just, none of that shit works.
Because love is supposed to flow. And it flows
it's like water.
Exactly. It was about to say, and that changes.
Sometimes the that shit can ruin some shit that you didn't want it to. And sometimes it can provide blessings you never planned on.
So let me ask you this. What is it about us and our relationship, and I will answer the same question, made you committed to the concept of staying together?
Our communication. We've been talking along these lines, along these ways. Like, again, we took a road trip together and it was very interesting. She didn't like just fall asleep. We talked like from New York to North Carolina.
We did.
Literally talked the whole time. And as someone that I had been talking a lot, and one I knew is just when I like being on the phone. You know, I don't like being on
You
the
don't. He
phone.
does not like being on the phone at all. And you would spend hours on the phone
I
with me
would
when
just
we
be on
got
the phone
together.
caking with you and shit. And I'm like, that's different. You know, that's putting her automatically into a small population because I'm willing to be on the phone with you. You know what I'm saying? But like again, and then we went back to New York and talked the whole damn way, and everywhere in between, we just were constantly. And again, I wish most guys could have that experience because for most men, when a woman is just it's like annoying as hell. Facts. And there's been times where I'm like, yo, a nigga trying to go. Stop. Like, or what happened? Just tell me the damn story.
But I have that same thing in me, so I think it really works. I don't get offended because I'm trying to set sometimes the stage, and he's like,
women tell the longest damn stories. It'd be like, yo, you gave me the first 3 chapters, and I just needed the prologue, but whatever.
But I love that.
But when sometimes I sit down and just listen to it, knowing I'll be like, I wish you would just get to it. And sometimes I literally be like, look, my ADD going crazy. Just tell me what happened.
But so in light of that, what is it about our communication then that was so different that even with the frustrations of, oh my God, this woman just keeps talking, you were saying, I'm willing to be committed to the commitment of what it takes to stay together?
Well, honestly, a lot of women, I just feel like intellectually, I leave them in the dust, like, to be honest.
Okay.
Because, and really, like, you're very feminine, but you don't have like a lot of delusion inside of your thought processes.
I really appreciate that.
That not a lot. Occasionally, sometimes I look at you like you just what's going on right now. That estrogen is raging.
Like in what moments are those,
I can't give you a particular example right now, but it does happen. Like it does happen, but not a lot, and as someone who had dealt with in previous relationships that just volcanic estrogen, where it's just like, damn, you're not even gonna try to see it from my side. That shit don't work for me. You know what I'm saying? So when you stayed on the same page with me, even when I started talking some like quote unquote sexist, misogynistic type of ideas, you weren't like, wait a minute, what do you mean?
No, I would ask questions because I'm curious to know.
Right.
Listen, if you're gonna be with someone, I don't there's certain things that turn people off, but I think I'm interested in how you think. Because how you think will tell me how you view the world, and how you view the world will determine whether or not we're compatible. And so by asking questions of the things, I don't think I ever had a moment where it was like, oh my God, that's outrageous. Because I was curious to know, okay, what led to this thought and what led to this, and tell me more and let me uncover this, because I did want to know. Because I think how someone views the world is very important, but how they view the world is also based on what they saw in their world. And so who am I to say, oh my God, that is, when I don't actually understand the foundations that built your world. And I think that's the crazy part of when people talk about, oh my God, I love this person, I'm so in love with this person. And I was like, you don't even know them.
That's what I'm saying. You don't even deeply know them.
You don't, and I'm not, and again, we went from strangers to cohabitation in 96 days, and there's some people would argue we couldn't know each other in 96 days. We did. We knew a lot about. I mean, not like we don't know we didn't know living together, know each other like we are 2 years into the relationship.
As far as conversationally and like just again, then what? We've always been doing that, so it's like, I had a pretty good idea of like, this was a person that was in a place that they were okay with the attempt to try to live, not making permanent decisions based on temporary feelings. Like that's kind of the core of it. I think that is a very difficult thing for women these days, because they're taught they can't feel nothing wrong. Like if I'm feeling it, it's got to be a reason to it. That's why it's always come back to the man's fault. He had to do something. Like that clip I sent you where it was just automatically like what did you do? What did you do?
Yeah,
And it's like,
yeah, that's crazy.
She can't just be
No, that
What
was
did the
good.
guys do when the chick was putting chicken wings in her coochie? What did the customers do?
Nobody asked that of the
It's
woman.
irrelevant.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
what she did superseded all that bullshit.
Facts.
But women are unwilling to do that with men in situations. You know what I mean? She bust out all the windows of your car. What
Did
do?
you do to
You
cause her to
cheated.
do that?
Okay, so that was appropriate. And again, my mama taught me this early growing up. It's like, don't play with a woman's feelings, because then you can't complain about what happens afterwards. And I'm on a certain level, I believe that though. Like, you start playing with a woman's feelings, don't be surprised if she gets vindictive on you. You know what I'm saying? But outside of that, no, I've been straight up with you from day one, and you still gonna throw water on my mink. The hell is wrong with you?
But you know what's so interesting? Getting back to playing with a woman's feelings. That's why that love word is so complicated, and it's so volatile. Oh God, it's so volatile, because telling someone you love them when you truly don't, or you don't even understand what the concept of love is dangerous.
It's unnecessary.
But that's what gets the windows bust out your car. That's what gets
a lot of the time.
I'm not saying, but and on the man's side, whatever the man does when he feels heartbroken by this concept of love. But I think people need to decipher. That's why that question again: what is your relationship with love? What does love look like to you? What does love feel like to you? What does love act like to you? Understanding that, because if it feels like, acts like something different than what that person is expressing, then you know it's not love.
Ever loved something and lost it? Because I don't want to be your first experience with that shit.
Ooh. Do you understand that that was my biggest thing with love? I'm going to love you, and then I lose you, and now there's a piece of me
You got to go through that.
That's what my therapist told me. She was very clear about what was necessary, right? It was like, you kind of have to be okay with losing love. You have to be okay with the loss. But again, not everybody's okay with the loss. And so that's why it is easier to fall in and out instead of growing into it.
Beat them into the punch, or like that.
The Lori Harvey thing, right?
Yeah.
When it no longer serves me, I'm going to leave. No, and it was beating them to the punch. So you fall in and into it, you can fall out of it if you're growing into it. And when you grow into something, it's very difficult. You don't grow out of it. So that's why when people say fall into love, it's like, okay, but you can also fall out of something. But when you're growing into something, it becomes a part of you. It becomes immersed in you. And that's the scary part of love for most people. That's why it can turn to the I hate him or her in a matter of hours or days when the person doesn't get out of love what they want.
You know what it really is? It's they got the energy for the wrong person. They hate somebody, but it ain't really that other person. You hate yourself.
Well, yeah,
you know what you. Okay, here's the thing about accountability. Like, even if a person, it's like, unless somebody like threw a bag over your head and kidnapped you and did some shit to you, you know what I'm saying? Like, like in the context of a relationship, someone doing something to you, you had to be in the relationship with them for this shit to happen. So if nothing else, you got to take accountability for selecting them to be in a room alone with each other, to be having sex with, to be whatever. You know what I'm saying? You selected them. At some point it was okay.
But it also goes back to my original question when we first started the show of, do you really need to know how to learn to love someone if you actually know how to love yourself?
It's not, because when you love yourself, it's really just teaching a person how to replicate that.
But that's what I'm saying. So this idea of it's you, it won't be you if you've learned to love yourself. Because the first person.
Facts. I see what you're saying.
You understand what I'm saying? The first person you should.
That's like they say, come healed. When you're healed.
Thank you.
You know at least what's happening is not based off of your trauma. Sometimes there's just basic incompatibility. And I think most people are cool with that. And there's nothing wrong with going a different way when that incompatibility is uncovered. Not everything is going to be found out. And 96 days. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
But at the same token, if you just keep blowing past red flag after red flag after red, like we was that Kendra G episode, Shorty talking about, oh, 2 kids later, years later, he don't want to work. Oh, you know, I said to her, I was like, I bet you he ain't have a job when they met.
When you had the first kid.
I bet you he ain't have a job when she had that first kid.
And it went on that.
I bet he didn't want to work then.
And it went
But
on.
somehow you told yourself it was going to change.
And the next man she dated also, the reason she can't be with him because he also doesn't like to work. So clearly, girl, you attract men who don't like to work. But, you know, I think it's so interesting for me. It's like, if you understand how a person loves themselves, it will help you to determine whether or not you can love them. Because how I love myself is going to show how I will treat you. How do I treat myself? You know, I love me some me.
Yeah, are you traumatizing yourself? Are you self-sabotaging yourself? Are you still in a place of dealing with pain and trauma yourself? And there's nothing wrong with it. And it's not no like 100% status. No. You come, when they say come healed, they're talking about like over 80%, you know what I'm saying? Like that general rule of thumb in relationships, 80-20, you know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of almost a universal mathematic concept of health. You know, not very little things operate 100% capacity.
No, but nothing
very
operates.
Few things
there is not
you know
even the
saying?
Power.
All you can do is burn out. Just operate and all you can do is die at 0%. What else is there at 0?
Do you think it's too much for people to truly know how somebody loves before they love them? Do you think that people just think that's just too much work to find out how they love? Because again, it's an emotion, it's a chemical, right? Like if you think of love as just a chemical, then for you, because for a lot of people, I can't control that I love you. It's a chemical. So I'm going to feel how I feel because it's a chemical. I don't control love. Where I think there is some control to, yes, it is a feeling, but the decisions you make around love is something that you can control.
How about this? And this probably works better for women as far as evaluating a man than a woman. But it probably goes both ways. Communication has to be established before sex.
It should be.
Because
yes,
it's not going to get better after sex. Agreed. Chances are you're just going to continue to have sex.
Agreed. Our communication was established way before we
even got to that point. You know what I'm saying? This is so now after sex, if we're not talking like we were talking before sex, if the communication isn't as clear and crisp as it was before sex, we've got a problem. And it's instantly identifiable. We were talking for hours on the phone. We're doing all this other stuff. Now I done smashed, and now I'm texting you, and it's 3 days later when you call me back. We got a problem because the communication was better before we had sex than it is afterwards. So I'm not going to continue in that space. And the same would be vice versa. You know what I'm saying? But I think if communication would, y'all done started smashing, now you want to be, oh, so what do you like to do on the weekends? And it's too late for that shit.
So people got it backwards.
Back to the principle. Saying. Most men are unwilling to do anything additionally, especially if they're not taking you serious after sex. If you require it, you better get it before you give him some buns. Because you can't require anything else after the fact. So if you're marriage-minded, you better make sure he know that before you give him the buns.
And if you're in love with the idea of love, you need to know that person's relationship with love.
Facts. There's certain stuff you just gotta know about a person because you're not gonna get clarity after sex.
How do you even have that conversation? Because we just fell into conversations. Like
I think we also have a bit like the type personalities that's just like state your purpose. Like
pretty much. That was kind of our approach. Why are you here?
If someone knocks on the door, I open the door and they just stand there and look at me for 10 seconds. I'm just gonna
close it right in their face without question.
Like, what do you want me to coax? Why the fuck you just knocked out on my door? Out of you? I'm not playing with you.
But there is some fear of asking the tough questions.
You can't have a good relationship without being okay with taking an L. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. That's the difference between secure love and insecure love.
Ooh.
When you secure in love, you're saying, look, if you do this to me, you're done.
Setting the boundaries right up front. The no disrespect.
I love you. You
But
love me,
understand-
but you think it's cool to disrespect me. We done. I'm not afraid to take that L as much as I care about you. I know you feel the exact same way.
Absolutely.
You're not worth more than my self-respect.
But we
And
all,
you should feel the same way. Some people, man, like in rom-com, I live for you, I die for you. Like women, especially, y'all want a nigga, y'all want to get a man to that point just so you can leave him. Like he shifted his whole life around for me. Because a man ain't gonna do that. A man's life should be like a train. And you can get on it and ride, but you don't get to determine where it's going.
what about people who say, well, if you love me, you will ...
Change my destination?
Yeah.
I call bullshit on that. That doesn't make any sense.
Have you ever heard that? If you
Yes.
love me, you would ...
Yes. And it's always by women or men with feminine tendencies.
No, but it could go either
It could go
way.
either way. It's a feminine
It is,
way of looking at it.
but then the return would be, if you love me, you wouldn't put me in a position
not a
where I have
positive
to ...
feminine way either. That's the better way of looking
Do you
at
understand what I'm saying?
Right. If
'Cause
you
love
me, you would expect me to slam the brakes on my train.
and ... And I think if you're secure within yourself, like you said, if you're secure within the idea that as much as I love you, I love me first. And I think that's tough for people because love is supposed to be selfless, right? We're supposed to have this selfless love, and this idea of having selfish love for people is like, oh no, that person was really selfish. But I think in some ways you have to be selfish with your love. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if people are being selfish enough with their love in today's generation.
Probably not. And then, like, especially when you're, because here's the thing, like, things are gonna go up quickly when you're in a good relationship. It took me 40 years or something to learn that shit, but it's our progression since we've got together has been so obvious, and it's so clear that it's because we're together. So I'm highly motivated to keep the team together. You know what I'm saying? So it's rather easy, no matter how much I might want to do something different. If I know puts my relationship with you in jeopardy, it's not as enticing. You know, when you have a good relationship, forbidden fruit isn't attractive.
Well, it comes back to the why do we stay together? You just made the point. That's why we stay together.
It was that show I watched, Fresh and Fit. I'll shout them out. You know what I mean? I just seen on the other day, one of the chat was asking this one girl to stand up and do the twirl, and she was like, "No."
Why would she need to stand up and do a twirl?
Attention-seeking women automatically want to show off the bun, show off the boobs, show off show that body. The Kendra camp.
Yeah, but they're looking for people.
She refused that because she has a man.
Yeah, she's not looking for nobody else.
She's not looking for no validation.
I'm not standing up looking for nobody when I had got you for what?
Shit.
I don't give a fuck about
and old boy acknowledged, he was like, and all of the men actually were like, that's kind of a stress test. You really you really respect your man. That's obvious because you like, no, I'm not twirling for you niggas. I got a man at home. That's what a woman who does not want to disrespect her man is going to act like that. If I'm not wanting to disrespect you, I'm not going to go to the strip club and booty, just running around, you know what I mean? Grabbing everything. You feel me? Because then they're like, girl, your man was at the strip club like a damn Cookie Monster. At Crumble or some shit, you know.
But that's a good point, right?
You're not forbidden fruit isn't as attractive when you're in a good relationship on either side of it. Yeah, she got a fat ass, but you're not as enticed to go holler at her about it.
Because you're like, I got all of this stuff over here.
Right. I don't need.
And I got this over here, but I'm gonna ruin all of this over here for this over here. Don't make no sense to me.
Right.
But that is our incentive to stay together. If anybody asks what our incentive is, because when we look at our life together, we've seen the progression and we understand it's because we're together. And so staying together only makes our life journey better. So that is why we're committed to the commitment. And it's, yes, we love each other. We love each other very much. But the love alone, laying in bed and holding me at night, and then we wake up in the morning and the lights are off, that ain't it. Yeah. Baby, we're getting romantic and close because it's cold in here because you ain't paid the heating bill. That ain't it. That's not. And I think we also need to get out of the idea and concept, we're going to get to the bowl soon, about this idea of struggle love.
Oh, damn.
What are your thoughts about the idea of struggle love? Like, you know what? And I understand you've had this saying, you know, if you don't starve, there's a lot of men who believe if you don't starve with me, you can't eat with me. But at a certain point in life, when you're 40, fucking 5, I'm not starving with you.
No. The better way of putting it is again, that there's nothing wrong with that attitude. But when you're in a good relationship, it will level up quickly. She'll compensate for your weaknesses. You'll compensate for her weaknesses. Y'all will accentuate each other's strengths. Y'all shit will start to level up quickly. A not so good relationship, y'all will be in the same fucking place a year from now, if not further behind.
Yeah, what's up?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's not what's up. So sometimes that's clear. Just look at what y'all done while y'all together. That's the clearest indicator of whether y'all in a good thing or not. It's just fireworks go off when we have sex. I don't care.
Does your life indicate that the love you have for each other is good because your life is progressing?
I'd rather build on success. Straight up and down. Better sex can be communicated in a successful relationship.
I 100% agree.
Yo, when you do this, I don't like it. Maybe do it like this. People scared to talk like that even.
Oh, we talk like that all the
time. But you'll sit back there on your back like, that hurts. But you're not going to say nothing? Because you scared she going to leave you or is she going to stop doing it? Or no. We both are like,
no, don't like that.
After that third, I'm like, whoa. What the hell is you doing?
Thank God we haven't had many of that.
Yes, or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? She's like, nigga, what is going on? Are you okay? I don't like that.
No, I think
that's what I'm saying. Like, it's. I don't understand.
And I think as Black people, we need to get away from struggle love
and be uncomfortable talking about it, or how you can have that like, is love enough? No, and that's how you find just trying to make love enough of how you find yourself a year later in the same place or worse off.
Okay, that's how we change the
focusing on the feeling.
Babe, I can't afford it. But that's how we change the conversation around Black relationships, is talking about something that is so key, is this idea of like, you need to struggle in love. And I just think past a certain point in life, because not even kids in their 20s these days are struggling in love. They're finding people that they're compatible with and can build with. And I think that's key. Compatible. Let's talk about that. About a final thing before, can you really truly be in love if you're incompatible?
Yeah.
You think two incompatible people can truly be in love? Not just say they're in love, but truly be in love. You're not compatible on any level.
They can feel like they're in love.
That's what I'm saying. Like truly being in love and feeling the emotion, the chemical is very different than, because again, love is supposed to also be an action.
True love is something different than just the feeling of love. And exactly. I don't even think they can be kind of compared, but can you truly love someone that you're incompatible with? Absolutely not. That doesn't even make any sense. How did you all arrive to that point? If can an arranged marriage work if two people are incompatible?
No.
But the families have sought to put them together because they feel that they are highly compatible.
Yeah.
That's why those relationships usually turn into loving marriages.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it's, we look at the same thing, I see hot, you see cold. We look at the same thing, I see right, you see left. How the fuck can we build a life together?
And there's some people who are trying to do that, right? They're not doing a compatibility test.
Nah.
They're not determining because they're not communicating.
Right. And again, and how can I lead? Again, y'all inherent. How can you trust me if we don't see anything the same?
Facts. We'll leave it there. You definitely cannot leave.
That's why you can say, I'm gonna leave it up to him, because if I'm gonna buy the airline tickets to where we're going, and then I'm gonna pass it to you.
I'll do everything else.
You feel what I'm saying? That to me, that's how we work.
That is how we work.
I'm gonna pick where we're going. I'm gonna buy the tickets. What we do there, where we stay, at that point, I know it's out of my hands, because that is your job to make that part a good experience.
I will definitely make it.
You're just gonna be like, we're going to Germany.
Great. And
and then you jumping online, looking at Airbnbs and all that other shit. But I've decided we're going to Germany. That's where we're gonna spend our holiday.
Facts. That's a good way to put it. I love that. You do it, and then I just do everything else, because I've done my part.
Where would you like to go to vacation? Germany, China, or Australia? We're never gonna fucking go anywhere.
No. Actually not. Leave me alone. Goodbye, Robert. Pick your question.
All right.
Okay. Leave me alone.
What do you think we can do to keep our sex life exciting? I don't really even think we got a problem with that.
Thank God we don't anymore.
Well, nah, I'm just anymore. Damn.
Don't you? No, it wasn't low cliche. Remember, when I was coming in my sexy lingerie, asking you to come to bed, and you were shooing me.
Yeah, we definitely had to learn it. And there's gonna be times where, you have to recognize your partner's low energy. That's probably not the time for me to go trying to put it in their face. Or vice versa. You see I'm just low energy, and you
not the or the
kiss. Get off me.
That Robert would hurt my feelings in that way. I wouldn't even lie. So I don't want hurt feelings. Give me your question. So I know his ebbs and flows. Anyways, my question is, who is more likely to survive the Hunger Games, me or you? I'm going to give it to you.
Okay, I thought you.
No, I don't.
You was going to default to the delusion.
No, I'm going to give it to you, because I wouldn't even know where to start.
I'm going to take you as far as we can go together.
There you go, because, I'm not going to be me.
Do you think being married will change our relationship? Not severely, but I think it'll just add another layer of security.
Oh my God, that was going to be my answer. High five. Oh, low five, I guess.
Low five.
That was when I was writing the questions up today. That was exactly my answer. It'll
kill some of your anxiety. I ain't worried about it. But
it's my anxiety.
I don't have to worry about you running off quite the same way once we're married. I don't worry about it, but some days I do be like, man, I'm gonna be surprised if I get home and she's like, I don't know.
Leave me alone. I'm going back to Toronto. Forget you and everything you stand for. Not gonna happen. But my question: if you're trapped on an island with just one person, who would it be? It would be you. There is not a question. You are my best friend. You are my writer. You are my confidant.
Yeah, we can have sex on the island.
And we can have sex on the island. Sorry.
I don't want to be with Albert Einstein.
Sorry, besties. They won't give it up to me. So I'm sorry, y'all.
Really
you don't get to be on the island with me. All by ourselves.
What would you want me to do in the future to spice up our marriage and make it more fun? This is a biased question. I'm going to be a little bit of an a-hole. This is a question that you were supposed to ask me. Because you should never be in charge of fun.
What? Why do you say that? I am fun.
I told you, I always say, My daughter agrees also. If we went to Disney World and I left it up to her, she'd be like, okay, at 8:15, we're going to get to the park. By 8:20, we should get to a small world after all, and that should take 30 minutes or so. And then we can move on to, was it the Harry
Leave
Potter?
me alone.
And then that should take about an hour. And like the whole day will be scheduled out.
Yes.
That's not fun.
I think that's very fun.
That's why I said you should not be in charge of fun.
Answer the question, please. What would you do then? It's for you. What would you do to
Just keep doing what I've been doing because I'm the more fun of us.
give me the damn question? Whatever, Roberts. Okay, pick your last question. So, what are the best qualities you bring to our relationship? So, I guess that question is for me. What are the best qualities I guess I bring to our relationship? Unless you want to answer the question.
That's your question.
I
wanna see
would
if you
say
what I think you bring.
I would say organization.
Yes,
I think
absolutely. Where's my socks?
Yes, you need to know where your socks is and everything else. So I think the organization is one. I think God, I think that's the main one. Because I'm not patient.
No, I do not look at you for patience.
Patience, I am not. I think nurturing. I think I have my moments of being nurturing. Moments. I'm not always nurturing. I'm not the most nurturing.
No, but you're not deficient of it.
No,
either.
I know how to.
I think you're as nurturing as you can be. I without because again, I don't think you believe in it like that. You know what I'm saying? I think like if you were like talking about small children, like miss me with that shit. We kind of on the same page with that shit too.
But they
like,
talk about is it spare the rod, spoil the child, or something like that. Like that's always been my thing.
I get that.
I'm gonna give you what you need to do to be able to navigate the world, but I'm not gonna
have a
spoil you. Yeah, like
mentality.
I can't
want to do
it.
everything I can to make you happy, but I'd rather make sure you can survive without
and navigate the world when you go into the world.
I'd rather, like I said, dad's job is to keep sons out of jail and daughters off the pole.
Oh my God, that was from Easy A. So Trey and I used to watch the movie Easy A, and that's what we talked about. I was like, I just need to get you through high school and you not be pregnant. And I've won, because all these girls are getting pregnant, and she's going to be 21 in 2 weeks, and we're good. Almost out of university with an honors degree, man. I did it.
That shit's real.
Your last question.
Who were you closest to growing up? Your mom or your dad? I would say my mom. Obviously, my dad was state property for many years of my childhood. That's not shade. That's just facts. That's why I don't fuck with prison. I was my daddy. Jail, none of it. I'm like, y'all niggas going to jail for that. Like, come back with a better plan.
And last question for me. Do you think money can bring us happiness? No, but it can sure buy us nicer things. Absolutely. I don't think money could ever bring us happiness. I think we would have to be happy within ourselves. And fortunately for us, we actually like each other. We enjoy each other's company. We have the most fun with each other. Even when we're in the stinkest of moods, we find a way to get out of it and have fun and make it work. So,
and that is not to discount retail therapy. We understand.
No, absolutely.
You can feel better.
You feel better, but it's not with money,
but it does not make you happy.
No, we definitely feel better when we come out of our car and feel
but
better.
But there's only so much shopping you can do. And then you got to go home. And that's where the high of the shopping shit is over now. And you didn't get over that hill. You feel better, but you didn't make it over the happy.
Thank you. You didn't make it over to the happy. So I think you have to have the happiness within. And we're fortunate that we're both individually happy with ourselves and collectively happy together.
Like yourself. Like, you got to make yourself laugh. You got to be a fan of yourself. Because again, if I don't fuck with me, how in the world can I convince her to?
Facts, big facts. So before we go, I want to thank our sponsors, Sorrel and Sage. Make sure you check them out on their Instagram at Sorrel and Sage CA or the website at shopsorrelandsage.com. Any final words from you?
Nah, man. Folks, thanks for joining. Thanks for participating. Come back and check us out. Last couple of episodes of season 2. we will be doing the season 3. It's gonna be I don't know if we're gonna do it the last episode of season 2.
No, it's the last episode
or
of season
the last
2.
episode of season 2. We're gonna do this kind of closing in on an anniversary. It's almost been a year of us doing this. It feels
Yeah.
like a lot longer, actually.
So we're gonna do
And
like
we're just gonna do a progression of, you know, Ashy the Classic, basically. You know what I mean? Our shit started out rough. But that's the whole that's life, man. Sometimes you just gotta take the first step and you'll find the will to keep going. And that's easier than just sitting there trying to convince yourself to start. That's like anyhow, because this is the outro. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate the feedback. Message us on Instagram at Fuck Your Feelings, the show, and see y'all next Thursday. Appreciate it.
Yep. And bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Let me just end this here and
Feed
bye.
over here.
Sir, I can't see.
That's your business.
Your butt is in my face.
Let me just end